I'm Bob Riggio, and with me is one of our many retired veterans that we have here in the Black Hills, Phil Lynch. And that's what we try to do. That's what we want to do at New Center One. We want to honor our veterans. And one way we can honor our veterans is just allow them some exposure, which is what we're doing, Phil, and have them tell their story.
I graduated from high school in 1954, then 1 year of college. And then I went in the United States Air Force.
What year was this?
This was 1955.
Okay.
And then I went to basic training in Texas. And then I went to a security police school in California to be taught law enforcement, security, different things. Then when I got in the security police, I went into more of a specialty of sentry dogs. I ended up walking a dog at bomb dumps at different bases.
And tell us a little bit about training these dogs. Now these were sentry dogs.
Yes, they had specialties. Some of them had specialties, trackers, and they were also a sentry dog. And then one might be a drug dog, and he was also a sentry dog.
And you were saying that these sentry dogs, there were no commands. I mean, the dog sensed when he needed to attack. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. If you moved, if you were a penetrator and you were standing there with your hands up, and the security policeman was watching you, if you went to hit him, or you started to run, or the dog would go after you without a command. As the service progressed, they became more command dogs. They would do it on command, and which was better. They were a lot, but still the dogs didn't go home with the handlers. They stayed at the kennels. They did not go back into the handlers' homes or live with them. I was the kennel master for the kennels. Okay. And when I was in Vietnam, and I had 60 dogs and 60 men. And Germany, I had 18 dogs.
How many security personnel did you have here that were under you here at Ellsworth?
1,600.
And why so many?
Because we had B-52s. And this is no secret. Everybody knew we had B-52s. And we had bomb dumps. And we had nuclear storage areas. And we had warehouses where all these dogs worked. And law enforcement. Dogs worked law enforcement and rode around with a handler in a vehicle.
We also had missiles here when you were...
Yes, we had 3 squadrons of missiles, like 30 of them.
I'm going to ask you this. Which breed of dog is the smartest?
German Shepherds. I'm prejudiced.
You were German Shepherds. Those primarily were the dogs that you handled.
That's all we used. Now, we had a little Scotia dog, and that was the wiener dog, the wiener. Yeah. And the reason we had to get him, we trained him to be a drug dog, because we had different people with different aircraft. For instance, the big B-52 is a big aircraft. You can walk a dog there and search for things, but you can't bring it on a fighter. What do you search? How do you search a fighter?
With a wiener dog.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what we did. We would take them and put them in the engine, and that little wiener dog would go all the way through. But now our pilots were good pilots. I'm not going to pick on the pilots, but we wanted to make sure they were good too.
Tell us a story also about the Medal of Honor person that would not talk, but you were able to converse with him.
I was in Vietnam, and I went to visit an Army buddy of mine, and I went in the beer tent. And there was a gentleman sitting in the back corner, and I said, "Who's that?" And the guy said, "Oh, that's old Joe." Well, what's with Joe? Joe was a Medal of Honor winner. He doesn't talk to anybody. He just sits back there. And I said, "Well, can I go talk to him?" And he said, "I wouldn't. He will probably embarrass you, And I said, I've got pretty thick skin. And he said, well, he just doesn't talk to anybody. I said, I want to go talk to him. So I walked over to him, and as I approached him, he looked up and he said, do you run that dog kennels down the road about 5 miles? Which I didn't even know he knew I was there, because I was in the Air Force. He was in the Army. And I said, yes, I do. He said, I'd like to see how you train those dogs. And I said, anytime you want to come down, you're welcome. And he said, how about today? I said, let's go. So we went to the kennels. And I had 3 or 4 young guys there, and we went through their training and their exercising and their over the jumps. And then I put on an attack, showing him how an attack would happen and how you would do it, and he was happy as anything.
What do you think brought him out of his shell, you or the dogs?
Oh, it was the dog. It was the dog, no doubt about it. And the other Army guys, after it was all over, they asked me, they said, Phil, what did you tell him? I mean, what did you say? And I said, you guys just don't know how to act right. You don't have any dogs. He likes dogs.
Let me ask you this, Phil. I'm an airman. I'm coming back to you and I say, I want to re-up. What's your advice?
The first question I'm going to ask you is, does your wife like the military? And if she says yes, then re-enlist. But if you don't, if she says, I hate it, and no, then get out.
Yeah,
I had a wife that understood remotes, night work, shift work, overseas.
Tell us about those remotes. You had remotes in Vietnam and Korea.
Vietnam, Korea, French Morocco. Germany. That wasn't a remote. That was a 4-year tour.
So you had your wife with you, but on remotes you're by yourself.
Yeah, remotes I was by myself. Yeah. You write letters. In those days, it took you 15 to 20 days for the letter to get to where you wanted to go.
Sure.
And then she would write back and say, one of the boys just broke his arm and he's not feeling very well. Well, then I'd want to know what the answer was. Well, it took me 2 weeks to find out. Whereas now,
FaceTime.
That's right.
They got FaceTime.
You got FaceTime now.
Okay, well, people don't understand. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices that our veterans go through. I mean, being away from families, but also those sacrifices are also felt by the families themselves. Yeah. You know, the wives are left at home raising the kids. Is there anything else you wanna say? You wanna add, Phil?
No, because I'd probably get sentimental. I'm an old Irishman, and I cry easy, but. I enjoyed the military, and I tried to do the best I could.
Sure.
And
if you had to do it over, you would certainly do it over.
I'd do it again. I'd do it again. Yeah. Maybe only do 30 instead of 31.
Phil, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service, and all the best in your future.
Thank you very much.